Welcome to Mastery Fractional CFO's Punchy podcast, short, impactful podcasts where we speak with business leaders from all walks of life about business. I'm your host, Ryan Chenier, founder and CEO of Mastery Fractional CFO Services. Today I've got with me Jennifer Baldick. Jennifer is the owner of Jetstream Administration, Inc. Jennifer, tell us about who you are and what you do. Tell us about your business.
Well, Ryan, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. I'm really excited to see you today and to talk to your audience. My business is Jetstream Administration, and I go with the tagline of giving your business a lift. So my focus has been from day one to improve businesses, improve their profits, to help bookkeepers be better bookkeepers. I really kind of take that educational approach to provide the support and help that business needs to achieve greater success.
Okay, and I'm very familiar with your service. I was a client at one point a few years ago, and it was great to have that third party perspective. You're a smart person. You've got great perspective,
Oh, thank
and
you.
you're able to deliver it and help my business get to the point it's at now. So I thank you for that, and it's great to have you on the show, Jennifer.
Great.
Let me ask you, how did you get into this? Maybe start at the beginning and walk us through.
My favorite story is my origin story, which is how Jetstream came to be. I have been excited about the accounting world since high school, and you may remember high school a few years back. Um, and I fell in love with accounting at that time. And as my career progressed, I got this bug in my head that I wanted to run my own business. And what kind of business would that be? Would it be a retail business? Would it be an online business? Would it be an accounting business? And ultimately, there was a Friday night, maybe a glass of wine, and a lottery ticket in my hand for $43 million for the Lotto Max. And I thought, what would I do if I woke up tomorrow morning and I won that cash? And so that's how my business plan was created. A Friday night, pen and paper. What would I do with $43 million? Well, let's just fast forward to say I did not have the winning ticket, but I had the winning formula for how I wanted to spend my career and what I wanted to do with the rest of my days on this planet. And made the conversion, made it happen. And here we are today. How many years later? I'm going to say 14 years later. Jetstream Administration still going strong, coaching and training the businesses of Canada.
So, and that's fantastic. So tell us about who you serve. What problems do you help solve? Tell us about the operation of your business and what you fulfill for your clients.
It's a great question because there are a couple of segments that I do specialize in. And of course, being a bookkeeper by trade, by heart, by the love of business, really that is a primary focus that I love to work with bookkeepers and accountants to help them run their business. 99% of bookkeepers that I meet are excellent bookkeepers and accountants who run the work, but they're maybe not quite as experienced or confident or well versed in actually running their business. They can help other people run their business. Their blind spot is running their own. So that's where I can step in and be that partner, that non-equity partner that is still running in the same direction as that bookkeeper to say, here's some workflows that can ease up your time. Here are some apps that are going to empower or amplify your skills and experience. And those small changes can have such a big impact. And that's where, giving your business a lift. Everybody that I work with has a business and has some success under their belt. And my job is to amplify it and to take it to those next levels that the business owner can see, but they can't quite reach.
Yeah, and I can relate to that when we did business together. Myself, I've got an MBA degree. I'm educated.
Mhm.
I've got a lot of business experience in the corporate world. But going into business for yourself, it's a little bit different. You don't have the infrastructure that you have in the corporate world to lean upon and to rely upon. And so when we did business together, I found that was one of the great things that you were able to do is give me an idea of what other people were doing who were at my stage and who were working towards where I wanted to go. You've worked with companies like that. You've been able to see what the roadmap really is, and you're able to shorten my learning curve with respect to that. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you. If you were to describe to somebody who might be listening to this
Yeah.
podcast what the situation might be on their end in terms of what they might be looking for or why they
Mhm.
should reach out to you, because it's
Yeah.
it's not a fit necessarily for everybody, but how would somebody know, hey, you know what, I should probably speak with Jennifer and see what she can do for me? How would somebody recognize that?
Great question, and thank you for that. There are two main triggers that bring people into my world. And the one being, I'm a business owner and I'm doing stuff and I feel isolated. I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't want to talk to my team because if I bring them into some of my financial concern or anxiety, that might make them less confident as my employee or my team member. So who can I talk to that's kind of an equal that can give me that guidance or a sounding board? So that is one of the main reasons that people will come to me, is that they're feeling isolated. Being a bookkeeper, being an accountant, we're often shuffled even in a regular non-bookkeeping practice business. Oh, the accounting department's non-value add. The marketing team is going out for lunch. The admin team is going out for lunch. Accounting gets left behind in the basement, so to speak. So that feeling of isolation is a main trigger that brings people to me so that I can help them not feel alone and to give them that confidence, that teamwork to move forward. The second reason is people that feel like they're a little bit on a hamster wheel, a little bit of a groundhog day that, oh, I can just see success. If I can just do X, then my world is going to change. If I can just do Y, then all of a sudden I'm going to have all this time and capacity. And they get stuck trying to get to the top of that mountain, and it gets tiring.
Mhm.
And so they'll reach out to me and we will plan a different path to get to the top of that mountain, to achieve that accomplishment so that, ah, look at the horizon in front of me. Look at all these opportunities in front of me. I'm there. I have capacity. I can do this.
Jennifer, I know you're passionate about business, and I think it comes across as you speak. But maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and what drives that passion. Who's Jennifer, the person behind Jetstream Administration?
Fantastic. Well, Jennifer has made all the failures that you're facing. She has overcome them. She has gone through a whole year of sacrificing her own personal salary to try to make things work. So I have walked the walk of those that are struggling and those that have had success. So since 2008, which is when I began my business, I've had those successes. I've had too much success, and there's problems with that too. I've had failures, and all of those different elements and perceptions gives me that ability to help those that are facing those same struggles. In the accounting world specifically, we know that we like to use the apps before we recommend them to our clients because that puts us in a position of experience. I've had experience of success. I've had experience of failure. I've had experience of clients being very dissatisfied with me. And through it all, you have to come through it because it's not the end. Losing a client does not mean your business is over. Winning 3 clients does not mean that your business can coast for the next 5 years. So every change that you come through is going to create a new change. And I think that's one of the things, I think, Brian, you'd agree that I like to say that every decision that you make is the exact right decision in that time and place. But that decision is going to be replaced in the future as circumstances change, as your experience level changes, as your opportunities change. And
Mhm.
that's really the crux of what I help people do, is get through those changes.
Yeah, and I'll add to that I think you're good at it. I mean,
Thank you.
there's a lot of different people out there who are doing coaching, whatever that
Mhm.
might be. And I found that one of the reasons in the beginning when I came to you that I came to you is because you seem to have a lot of really solid business acumen, and I love the way that the beginning part of our relationship began. You weren't what I'd call a pushy salesperson, but you were compelling, and you understood what I needed, and you helped me understand why that included what you provided. And you were right. So I'm glad that we had those conversations and
Yay.
getting doing business together. And I would encourage any of our listeners to reach out to Jen at any time if you wanted just to have an initial discussion. I think, Jennifer, you're open to meeting with somebody over the phone or on Zoom or what have you. But I'll get to that a little bit more in a moment,
Sure.
how to reach out to Jennifer. But what's a piece of advice, Jennifer, that you'd give to somebody about business, a business owner, say? What kind of advice would you give them about business that you've learned over your experience?
My core piece of advice for anybody running their own business, and you've hit a wall and you've reached a roadblock, there's something that's stopping you from getting to where you want to go or you envision your business to be. And I use it as a stop sign, which stands for stop, think, organize, and proceed. And what that stop sign means to me, and I like to share with others, is take a moment to take stock and be a little bit selfish. One of the best qualities of a business owner is that they want to help others. They want their team to succeed. They want their clients to be happy. But that has to be because the business is able and capable of doing so, not because the business is sacrificing to do so. The best imagery that I can give you is you're on a plane and those air masks come down. You put the air mask on yourself first before you help your child, your spouse, your friend, the person sitting next to you. And it's the same with your business. When you hit a wall, be a little bit selfish and say, okay, wait a minute. What do I need to shore up my business? How can I strengthen it so that it can do the things that I want it to do? So that little bit of selfishness is actually going to amplify your ability for success.
I think that's important because there are a lot of people out there who are in business. They want to make the world a better place. They want to contribute. They want to make a positive impact. But you can't do that if you're not looking after yourself. And burnout is not uncommon amongst entrepreneurs. So that's an important lesson. Yeah, I
It's
think
a
that's
real thing. If
really
you
good.
try to be everything to everybody, you are nothing to no one,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? If you want to be the best at a specific industry or a specific skill set, then be the best at it. Olympic athletes have one sport. They don't have eight,
Yeah.
right?
Very true. Very true. Okay. Well, I think we've reached the point in the discussion where I give you the opportunity to ask me, a fractional CFO, any question related to business. So fire away, Jennifer.
I thought about this, and one of the things that I come up with oftentimes, I work with business owners, I work with bookkeepers, I work with accountants, and the bookkeeping being that fundamental foundation of business success. But there's always a team involved, a bookkeeper, a tax accountant, a business owner, and CFO, certified, what do you call yourself? It's Chief Financial Officer,
Yeah.
CFO. Sometimes I trip over acronyms because there's so many in the world.
Yeah.
But what does a CFO do? And how does the CFO work with the bookkeeping team to serve the business owner? Because those team dynamics, when they work well, are powerful. So, how does that work with your business?
Okay. So a chief financial officer or a CFO in a large company, that's the person who's got an executive role. They are working with the CEO, the vice president of sales and marketing, the chief operations officer. They're part of the executive team.
Okay.
In a business that's smaller, that can't afford a full-time on-staff chief financial officer, a fractional CFO performs the same role, executive level leadership and oversight of the accounting and financial part of the business, financial planning and analysis. They're part of the executive team. They help take the executive vision and put together the financial component of that,
Mhm.
which is a little bit like the skeleton of the vision. If you want your business to look a specific way in a couple of years, you're going to have to make sure that the financial statements that are required to have it be that way are going to be in place. Okay, so the CFO can help put those together, put together the vision financially speaking, and then reverse engineer from there to create the roadmap or the pathway to go from where you're at now to where you ultimately want to be. So how does that work with respect to collaborating with a bookkeeper or even a tax accountant at the end of the year? And it's a great question because that collaboration between the bookkeeping personnel, the CFO, and whatever team members that person might bring to the table, and the year-end taxes, because that's a bit of a different part of the business as well. All three of those are very integral to a business that is in a growth mode. And it's not necessarily the case for a small business. In a very small business, if you're just a startup, one person, an entrepreneur getting your business rolling, you can have a bookkeeper. You should have a bookkeeper, and a
Yes.
good bookkeeper will help you get to that point where you've got $500,000 in annual revenue or $1 million in annual revenue. That point where you begin to build a team, and that team is starting to function effectively. But you'll get to a point where you need to leverage your time and your expertise, and you'll get to a point where the bookkeeper who's focusing on making sure that all of the transactions are being recorded properly, they're not going to be focused on financial planning and analysis, which is
Mhm.
everything looking forward. The bookkeeping and the record keeping is primarily making sure that everything looking backwards has been done properly, that you're compliant with government regulations, that you have good information in the books. Because we come into the picture and we look at the baseline. What are your current financial key performance indicators or KPIs? Do we know what those are? Okay, if we do, if the bookkeeping's been done well, then that's fantastic. And we can say, from there, we can say what's going right, where is there an opportunity for improvement, and how are we going to chart our course from where we are now to where we want to be. And we'll collaborate with the bookkeeper to make sure that the business is set up in such a way that we can do proper financial planning and analysis, proper budgeting and forecasting. So we'll work with the bookkeeper on the chart of accounts. And this gets into some maybe some technical areas that not all of the viewers are going to be well aware of, but we want to understand what are the gross profits, not just for the business as a whole, but if there's different products and service lines, what are the gross profit margins for the different products and service lines? Which products and service lines are providing the most return on invested time and money and energy? The bookkeeper can help us set things up properly, help make sure the reporting feeds into what we're trying to do for the company to help them reach their vision of success or to realize their vision of success. And so a good bookkeeper is gold for a company that's small. When a company becomes a little bit larger or a lot larger, a great bookkeeper is fundamental. Absolutely. A good CFO is going to be focusing in a different area, looking more at the future, looking more at helping make sure that the decisions you make are good decisions. Are we going to have enough cash if we move facilities now? In 6 months, we're going to have the cash we need. If we give better terms to our clients or give them more time to pay their invoices, are we going to run into a cash crunch, a cash flow crunch? These are the sorts of things we're going to be analyzing. It's a little bit different. And then at the end of the year, the tax accountant is going to be looking at the income tax for the business. And it's a different set of skills. It's a different area of focus. The rules are changing year over year. And so there's a different skill set there. And that's, I think the best way to look at it is everybody has their focus or their area of expertise, their lane. Bookkeeper, key component of any small to mid-sized business that's looking to grow. CFO, fractional CFO, also a key component of any business that's already starting to grow and that's wanting to grow more. And then the tax accountant, well, you have to pay your taxes. That's necessary. But that person's not going to be there doing your bookkeeping, week in and week out, or your fractional CFO work month in, month out. They're going to be there once a year for sure, maybe twice if they do a bit of preliminary tax planning. But to have those three areas, bookkeeper, CFO, tax accountant, working together and collaborating together in a synergistic way, it only means that your business is much more likely to be optimally effective, optimally efficient, optimally profitable. And it's the best way to manage your cash and just your year in and year out financial component of your business.
Nice. So, if I could try to put that into a picture in my mind, what
Yeah,
I'm hearing you say is I'm going to go back to the Olympics because I mentioned it earlier and it's kind of
yeah,
on my mind.
sure.
If we were running a relay race, the bookkeeper would be the very first um, holder of the baton. So the bookkeeper takes off and runs, but you're on the sidelines coaching to make sure that the bookkeeping, the chart of accounts is organized, the revenue streams are being properly captured. The bookkeeper hands off to the tax accountant, but you stay with the baton because now when the tax accountant's there, you're going to work with the tax accountant and coordinate back with the business owner to ensure that that runs smooth and serves the needs of the business, and that translation or communication, because we've all heard that not every business owner understands what a tax accountant is saying, but you certainly do and can make that translation back to the business owner. And so you continue to run the circle, but you are the baton, so to speak, from the educational component and the driver of how fast people are running and when those handoffs happen.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good discussion. I would say it's a little bit different from
Okay.
my point of view. It's like a relay race, and the bookkeeper does their section of the relay. Then we do our section. Our section is separate, and we're doing things month in and month out
Okay.
with the business owners, helping them understand and interpret their finances and their key performance indicators, helping them understand what is your plan, what is your budget for the next period, and then as the period progresses, we're helping them look at plan versus actual. How did you do? What's working? What's not? Where do we need to make course corrections? So our leg of things is in the middle somewhere, and then we pass off. Hey, here's your books. Here's where the company is. Here's the situation. We pass that off to the tax accountant, and they perform their leg. There's it's blurry. It's not a perfect handoff. In some areas, the bookkeeper's carrying the baton along with us, and
Mm-hmm.
in some areas when we're collaborating with the shareholders or the tax accountant or the lawyers of the business, we'll get involved with investors, bankers, depending on the scenario. But yeah, there's times when we have the hand on the baton with others, and there's times when we're just carrying it along on our own and
Okay.
working directly with the executive team to help them make decisions like a CFO would in a
Mhm.
big company. In a big company, a CFO is not doing the corporate income taxes, and the
We
CFO
hope not.
no, and the CFO is not doing the debits and credits either, but they're
Yeah.
performing that key role. And
Mhm.
it becomes more like incredibly apparent in large business, less so in a small business, like
Right.
that's under $1 million. But by the time you're at $3 to $5 million in annual revenue, typically speaking, a CFO, investing in a CFO, fractional CFO is a no-brainer. The return on investment is going to be substantially more than the cost. And so that's we're able to make a very positive impact that way. And that's very fulfilling for us.
No, no, thank you. That puts a nice picture in my mind as to how those teams run forward together, but
Yeah.
always serving the business, because that really, to me, is the most important part.
Yeah.
The hired help, the bookkeepers, the CFOs, the coaches, the trainers, we can't be running along without the business owner. They're our focus, right? They're the financier of their business.
Yeah. At the same time, the good news for the business owners is that these people like us and like you, we can leverage their time, leverage their expertise, help them grow without them having to commit to a full-time employee
Mhm.
who's going to cost whatever 50, 60, $80,000 a year and still not be able to produce the results that we can produce on a fractional basis, a basis that's going to cost a lot less, but that's going to provide a lot more. So it's a good business model. It's becoming more and more common, and I think that more and more people are recognizing the value. The issue is, do we have a good coach? Do we have a good fractional CFO? And I can vouch for you, Jennifer. I know you're a good coach. I
Mhm.
absolutely recommend to anybody who wants to consider reaching out to a coach, especially if you're in the bookkeeping area. Actually, you can probably help other areas too. Reach out to Jennifer, talk to her. Jennifer, what's the best way to reach you if somebody was going to look for you?
My two favorite ways are show up in my calendar, because I love seeing new names in my calendar so I can Zoom with you and see you in person and hear where you're at and how I can help. Um, and if you're maybe not quite ready for that, shoot me an email. Tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell me what your challenges are. And then we can either decide to talk on Zoom or via phone and sort out how we might best work together. And do know that there's no obligation. And we see that on TV all the time. No obligation, no contract. But this is a people business. And if we don't connect, that's okay. I might be able to send you off to someone else that might be a better fit for you. This is not all about trying to collect everybody. This is trying to help. And sometimes helping means I'm going to refer you somewhere else. Many times I can help, but that is the beauty of reach out and talk to me, because at the end of that call, you will be guaranteed to know more than you did when you started talking to me. So
I've
that would
never
be my advice.
I've never had a conversation with you where I didn't learn something or that I felt it was a waste of time. So
Well,
I agree. What is your email address?
I am Jennifer at jetstreamadmin.com. So that's all one word, jetstreamadmin.com. And then I think we can plunk in your chat, or maybe it's going to show up below screen here, my Zoom link so that you can book directly into my calendar. And I like to share the 15-minute link. Do know that I do block a little extra time if we want to go over, but 15 minutes is usually enough for us to say hi and how do we feel about speaking to and working with each other.
Super. Excellent. Okay, Jennifer. Well, that's it. We've come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. A pleasure is all mine. And I look forward to seeing you maybe in person really soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Take
All
care.
right. Thank you.
Bye for now.